Hey everybody, my name is Carol Brown. I am an urban fantasy author, and I'm here to talk to you about how to use blogging in a marketing strategy. Before I dive into that, I do want to show you this month's prizes for the giveaway for if you sign up for the newsletter for the month of May. So we have 2 stickers. We have the Writer Emergency Pack, which was actually well received the last time I had this as a giveaway prize, so it's present again. And then the last thing, because I know a lot of you are self-published or looking to self-publish, is I have the complete guide for self-publishing. I looked up on it, really good information. I did browse through this book, very good resource for you. So all you'd have to do again in order to be entered into the giveaway is just to sign up for the newsletter, and a winner will be randomly selected at the end of the month. Now let's ask ourselves, what is a blog? A blog, according to the dictionary, is basically a series of public journal entries available and written by one or a group of people, which that can really mean anything. A blog is basically something that you write that could either be writing recipes and sharing the story behind the recipes, it could be your journey through some kind of thing that you're doing, or it can just be you responding or commenting on books that you're reading. A blog is pretty versatile in the sense that it's pretty much going to cover whatever content that you decide that you want to cover. If you are an author, at some point somebody probably came to you and said that you should have a blog, and you probably wondered to yourself, like, should I have a blog? Should I not have a blog? Is it worth the investment? Is it not worth the investment? What am I going to write about? And these are all questions that you do need to ask yourself when you are trying to tackle not just this project, but pretty much any project where you represent yourself on the internet. The pro to having a blog is that you get a lot of writing practice. You will write, you will organize, and you will edit your journal entries before giving them to the public. It's really good writing practice, and these entries can be anywhere between like 500 and 3,000 words long, depending on what you're writing about. Some very popular authors do have a blog where they talk about like current events with their books, their own personal experiences, and just basically keeping an open way of communication with their readers. The downside to having a blog is that you have a lot of competition, not just with blogging, but just with information presentation in general. A lot of people lean towards going to YouTube videos and podcasts because they can listen to those things while doing something else. With the blog, it's a little hard for you to do that. Another downside to blogging is that these blogs do not immediately take off right away. If you are already not famous and you start a blog, it's going to take you anywhere between 2 and 5 years for you to see any kind of benefit from your blog in general. Earlier you heard me mention that you do have podcasts and videos that you have to compete with when it comes to presenting information, and the big key thing that I can tell you if you decide to do a blog is that you have to present information on the blog in a way that cannot be represented in either of those 2 platforms. One of the nice things about having a blog is that you can present a lot of data, and you can organize it, and you can share it, and a multiple of other things that just really don't transfer very well into podcasts and videos. So you will have to do some research given the topic that you decide to blog about and figure out the best way to present information that is suited only for blogs. So this brings us to content and exactly what it is that you are going to write. And before I dive too much into that, I do want to talk about a model that's referred to as competition-free content, which basically means that you're doing research in order to find content that doesn't really have a lot of competition in the market in general. For example, I can probably select any video on YouTube or authortube, and I will at some point find how to write characters, how to write villains, how to write dialogue, worst tropes ever. Like, the market is very saturated with these things. Oh, the top 10 mistakes of writers, those are everywhere. So when you decide that you want to make some kind of content on whatever platform, whether it be YouTube or blogging or wherever, you need to ask yourself, what are you going to do that's different than your competitors? As you see on my videos, I really don't talk a lot about how to do any of those things that I mentioned before, because there's a lot of people that have already done it and I don't have anything different to say on the subject. Instead, I try to focus more on how to make you successful as an author, tips and strategies, what works, what doesn't work. And I try to give as much information about that as I can, so that way you as the viewer can make an educated guess about what you want to do with that. So this does require some research. You do need to look around and figure out what's happening in the market, what are your competitors doing, and how can you do it differently. There's really only one actual blog that I follow personally, and that's Rachel Aaron's blog. And the reason I follow Rachel Aaron's blog is because she's not talking about, how to be a writer and the tips to writing and all that stuff. She's actually talking about, should you go to cons? Are cons actually worth it? She literally shared a big marketing project that she did. She gave us numbers and she showed us what worked and about how paid advertisements didn't work and about how word of mouth did. Like, she shared some really key information that not a lot of people want to share, and I really value that, and that's usually the stuff that I want to know as an author. Now, if you're feeling discouraged, just know that's not my intention. I'm definitely not trying to persuade you. I'm just giving it to you like how it is. And if you're wondering about what can I do that is different than everybody else, you as an individual are different than everybody else. You know, for example, if you're a mom and you're a writer, you can talk about trying to juggle, you know, basically your home obligations along with your writing career. If you have, you know, autism and you're trying to write, you know, and publish a book as a person with autism, then you can definitely, you know, work that narrative into your blog. That's something that a lot of people are interested in. You can just touch on so many different things. I mean, presently at this point in time, I work for 2 publishing companies, one as the content manager and the other one as the project manager. And I can definitely share a lot of experiences from somebody that's inside the industry and give it to all of you guys, which is actually what I'm trying to do right now. A lot of these videos that I produce for you are things that we in the publishing industry are actually looking at when we're considering authors, or we're trying to help them grow themselves and just trying to help you be successful in general. Now, if you're not really sure if you want to pursue a certain type of theme with your blog, which you do need to decide on what's the theme of your blog going to be, you can always just talk to a group of people that you know who are either writers themselves or people who you know who read blogs and say, hey, I'm thinking about writing about this. What is your take on that? And see if you can just get like some general opinions, and feedback is always good. You know, you can reach out and say like, you know, I'm thinking about doing a blog where I talk about my life as an author and a baker. What do you think about that? People be kind of like, well, are you going to have baking recipes in there? Because I definitely want those in there along with your journey to being a writer. So just ask, see what people say. If they'll tell you that, no, not interested, then you can always kind of go back into the idea pool and pull something else out. Let's assume at this point that you already know what your theme is going to be. So you have to ask yourself 2 questions at this point. How often do you want to post, and where are you going to post at? In regards to how often you're going to post, you have to decide that. Some people I know will post every day, where some people will post once a week. And the reasons for those are very different. One person is trying to push out a lot of content so that way people can find and have something to read, where another person only posts once a week because their entries are anywhere between 3 and 10,000 words long, so it takes some time to write these posts. In regards to where you are going to post, I can definitely give you some options. The first one's going to be WordPress. WordPress is very commonly used. It does have a lot of versatility. It does have a lot of theme options, and depending on what you're trying to do with your website, it does allow you to basically work towards that idea and that overall goal that you have with your website. Downside, obviously you have to pay for it, and not just that, but you have to pay for hosting as well, so there's that. Following that, you are going to have Squarespace. Squarespace I know is very widely used among a very different group of people for various reasons. I really don't know a lot about Squarespace other than it is very well used. It's very simple to use, and it does look very pretty. So if you're looking for something that's easily manageable and you don't have to do too much hands-on work, there is Squarespace. After that, you've got Tumblr. Tumblr basically does all the hosting on itself, so you've got that. It is free, there's that too. Unless you want a certain kind of theme, then you have to pay for this theme. Now, talking about themes on Tumblr, you cannot really customize these themes very much once you have them. What you see is what you get. Now, the downside I want to say with Tumblr is depending on what content you are trying to post or talk about, you may find that it will get flagged and it will have to go for review, you'll have to contest it. And I'm not sure exactly how the algorithm for being flagged works right now. I had something I put on there that was flagged, and it was just a profile picture. It was very strange. So not sure how that's working out. Now the 4th option that I want to present to you, and it may surprise some of you, but this is actually how I blog, is actually Instagram. So Instagram, along with being able to post up the pictures, you do have some pretty sizable amount of character space that you can post under those. And that's pretty much where I do all my blogging at. I'll post a picture, I'll have a conversation with my audience, and I honestly like that a lot more because it works more for me, and it actually allows me to reach my target audience, which that's the other question you have to ask yourself is, who is your target audience and where can you find them at? My target audience is mostly on Instagram. Now, the one downside I am going to say to that is obviously people are just looking for pretty pictures, so if they don't read your text, they don't read your text. But in the video that I'm having coming up next week where I talk about current events and authorhood, there are some changes being made to Instagram that I do want to share with you that will actually make blogging on Instagram more beneficial toward you. Anyway, we'll cover that later. But the big pro for actually doing that with Instagram is that I have a lot more reach. And if there's one thing I'm not very good at, it's the SEO work, which basically has to do with all the keywords and the target things that have to do with bringing people to my site. That is not my forte. I don't really have to worry about that so much on Instagram. I have to make sure that I have the appropriate hashtags in there, and I can get an audience of anywhere between 30 and 100 people per post that I go ahead and put up. The one I probably have the most on is like over 100, but that had to do with geometric artwork and my story about that artwork, and it really just depends on what you post and what you decide to talk about. moving away from the various platforms that you can use, and there are more besides the ones that I listed for you. You need to, if you want to go check them all out, they're just a Google search away. But moving away from that, I do want to talk about the format in regards to how you do these posts. Now, there are bloggers who come up with like certain formulas about how you blog and about, you know, where you have to put certain things where, and it's very templatey. What I'm going to tell you is there's really only 3 things that you need to consider when you're doing a blog post. One is your intent. What is the intent for your blog post? Are you trying to share information? Are you trying to get people to go somewhere? Are you trying to get them to buy something? You need to identify what the intent of your blog is before you actually write it. The second step is the actual content. You need to write the blog. And then the third thing that you need to take into account when you're writing a blog is your engagement. And engagement has to do with speaking to your audience, asking them a question, trying to get them to respond to you in some shape or form. Engagement is actually something that you should be using in multiple platforms. You find that I use engagement here in the videos when I ask you guys questions, but you do need to keep engagement in mind whenever you're working on a blog post. You definitely want to get more opinions than just your own when it comes to certain matters, because the last thing that we all need to do is find ourselves in a dangerous echo chamber. I'm actually having a thought right now because it just occurred to me after I did all that other stuff, that you can also consider Wattpad as a platform to do your blogging. And some people, like, I have seen blogs on Wattpad, and I think that's a very interesting way to go forward because Wattpad's very interactive. It does let you actually like have people like comment on different lines. And I do like that feature about Wattpad, but again, trying to reach out to your target audience at that point is going to be hard. The only thing left at this point to talk about in regards to blogging are best practices or things that you can do to help make your blog successful. Again, keep in mind, as I said earlier in the video, your blog is not going to immediately take off. These do take time. All right, it does take a little while. It does take some traction. But when you are going to go ahead and have a blog, you need to plan your content out at least 3 months in advance. That sounds like a lot, but if you plan your content out 3 months in advance, you're not going to be sitting there wondering like, what am I going to post today? What am I going to post tomorrow? What am I going to write about? At least that will be taken care of. And that allows you to have time if you need to research certain topics to go ahead and do that research. So plan your blog out at 3 months in advance when you can. I use a quarter system whenever I decide to plan something, and then I just follow that. And of course, I've got my handy dandy calendar here where I plan all my YouTube videos and all my other stuff that I look at. Mostly because in the morning when I wake up, I don't actually want to be looking straight at my phone because it's just a weird thing that I do. So I have some stuff written down here in the office that I can go and look at any time. The other thing that's for best practice is you need to figure out how you're going to share your blog with other people. Find a way that lets people know that you have a blog, and then show them how to easily get to the blog. A lot of people do this on Twitter. I've seen it done in Instagram where they do a short, where they use the Instagram story as a hey, new blog out, link in bio. So find beneficial ways and things that work that direct people to your blog. The other thing to take into account is you need to see how well your blog actually does. Like, figure out what posts that you generate that are actually like getting that engagement that you're looking for, and kind of think about or reflect on how to keep that engagement still going. What are things that you can do to keep more engagement and bring more people to you? Another thing that I would definitely tell you to do is to make sure that you keep copies of your blog in a place that they're not going to be lost. True story that happened to me is that earlier last year, my website actually did have a blog on it, and I had a lot of posts on there, and something happened with GoDaddy and my site got taken down, and when they reinstalled it, all my content was basically locked behind this wall, and they said that for a fee they would give me back my content. I got really upset, obviously, and I said no, keep it, I'll just build from the ground up again. And so my advice, so that was like, I'm not gonna lie, that was like a year worth of blogging that I did that's just gone, and I was really disgruntled about it. Which is why, as you guys can take a look here, I've kind of shifted away from blogging and I've gone to YouTube videos, because even if something happens with my site, my videos are still here on this platform. So whatever you decide to do, make sure that you back it up somewhere, because you never know when like chaos is going to strike in your life and just completely decimate your website. All that wonderful talk brings me to something that I'm actually interested in, and it's what blogs do you follow? As I mentioned before, I really only follow one blog, which is Rachel Aaron's blog, and that's because she talks about, kind of like the stuff that goes on in an author's life that most people don't really talk about. There are a lot of other authors that do share a lot of good information, and I'm always looking to kind of like broaden my horizons and follow other people. If you also have a blog, please feel free to share that as well. Definitely would like to make a bank of people that we can, go to and support each other, because sometimes just having people that are active in our different platforms is a lot more encouraging than having nobody at all. But that brings us to the end of the video. If you found this content to be beneficial to you, please feel free to subscribe. If you would like to know when I come out with videos, you can hit the bell down below. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday. Monday for news, Friday for just writerly things. And if you would like to know if I know what I'm talking about when it comes to this writer nonsense, I have a link down below to my newsletter, and as soon as you sign up for the newsletter, you get access to a free short story called Staff Meeting, and you can read it and see if I know what I'm talking about when it comes to writing. As I mentioned before, the giveaway is still doing its thing right now. All you have to do to be part of the giveaway is to go ahead and sign up, and you are automatically entered for not just this giveaway, but every giveaway that happens afterwards. If you are looking to find ways to actually support me so that way I can keep doing all this wonderful recording that I'm doing, there are a couple of options. Some of them are free. The first one is obviously to share the videos with other people, see if you can get them to come and like and subscribe as well. The other option is if you actually did read Staff Meeting, if you go leave a review either on Amazon or Goodreads, that would be very useful, just because authors are made or broken based on the reviews that they get. You can leave it honest. If you didn't like it, feelings not hurt. I take criticism pretty well. The other way, and this one's not free, but it's available if you are looking to do that, is I have a Subscribestar account, and basically in that, what I do is I provide content that's only to you. You get the ability to choose what videos are going to come out. You can request videos. You can do all of that. But that's all I've got for you today. I hope you have a great weekend and keep staying awesome.